I had to be okay with being the minority, speaking differently. The UK system genuinely does support you as an individual. We'll put it back in standardized terms. The least locked in person in LSE still has a very high chance in going into high finance because the firms cherry pick you.
Yeah.
Quality over quantity. At LSE, a lot of people say it's just the amount of shots you throw up. In reality, it's about the quality of your shots you throw up.
Welcome back to another episode with the Investate Podcast. I am your host, Lennon Muma, and we have a very special guest. We talk about London, we talk about economics, but now let's join them together. LSE, the one and only. And we have a character today that is the pinnacle of coming from a background where we have to move into the country. There's a cultural gap. And sometimes adaptation is an upward gradient, but we have someone today who's still a high achiever, who's still pushing the boundaries and who's still breaking borders. And we have the one and only Methul. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. That is me.
Thank you. So let's introduce you. Like, who is Methul? What do you do? And how was your upbringing and how does it shape you to who you are today?
I'll start with who is Methul. Well, currently I'm a second year student at the London School of Economics. As far as my upbringing, I was born in Sri Lanka. Had a lovely life there, I'd say. It's quite a nice climate, tropical climate, oceans, breeze. I moved to the UK when I was around 9, 10. I come from a single family home, so this is my mum majority of the time. But it was quite nice, of course. The cultural difference was huge. Coming from such a family-orientated background into the UK it's a bound and a leap, I'd say.
That's it.
It's a huge jump. But I think I'm grateful for the UK. Many other countries, the culture gap is a lot harder, but at least I'm in the UK, there's a lot of cultural diversity.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to integrate at a decent pace, but wasn't the easiest, of course, having already passed my most formative years in Sri Lanka, moving here at age 10.
Yeah. And let's talk about your kind of background in serial entrepreneurship. But then now I want to focus on, do you think the UK kind of helped to integrate you kind of having that feeling of belonging within society, or you kind of pushed the boundaries via entrepreneurship, which you did do?
I think when the time period I came to the UK, there wasn't much support from the UK side. I think I did have to leap and bound on it. I had a very strong accent, of course. It doesn't sound like it as much. I still have that little twang here and there. But I don't think the UK helped. I'd 100% say that I'd put my own back in it, make sure that I was actively trying to integrate myself, and especially in the entrepreneurial scene where looking like myself and also speaking like myself, I'm in the minority. And I'll always be in the minority in a country in the UK. I had to be okay with being the minority, speaking differently. And of course, it comes to a whole lot of confidence issues. Even now, I wish I could articulate my words the best, but it was even worse when I was a child.
Yeah.
So I'd say no. I think the UK didn't help me. I think it was more of an individual agency into entrepreneurship, which I jumped into.
And the sheer ambition and work rate to start your own car reselling business, selling GPU parts, would you say that was out of a passion for business, or that was because it was the only way to survive at the time?
Well, just for clarity, it wasn't just car. I was mainly on the fashion side of reselling as well, but car parts and GPUs were quite a nice thing because not many people had much idea of it. And this was before the AI craze.
Yeah.
The AI craze has increased GPUs out of price in all generations. But I think it was more of a hunger and a need to. I lived in council homes growing up. So money was not going in, money wasn't coming out. It was like a slow, very steep place. And I needed money. I was a little child. I had my little dreams. I wanted to do sports. But particularly, I loved growing up. I loved basketball. I watched the NBA. I played the games, and I felt like I needed some money to do this. And of course, I can go to my mum because my mum had enough stress. Coming from a different country, she had whole two or three kids on her own, so it was more of a need. Like if I want to have that normality in life, I had to work.
Yeah, yeah. And we talk about the myth of that there's a linear path in life, especially in the early stages
Yeah,
when forming a career. You were a student that you mentioned that you had predicted grades BDE
yeah,
and you were expected to get AAA for your
yeah,
placement at LSE, which you are. You have achieved that.
yeah.
So you had a intense, rigorous 90-day period of just sheer the great lock-in. So what was that like, and like what kind of triggered that? And then now we talk about the UK system. Did they push you to that kind of path where you're left to fight against pressure rather than having just intelligence that could have pulled you through?
I am not gonna lie to you. I think my fallback in my studies was completely on me. I went
Obviously.
to an amazing school, had very supportive teachers,
Yeah.
but I mingled with the wrong people.
Yeah.
I think I maximized my childhood in those I was basically burnt out from working like entrepreneurship in year 11.
Yeah.
I went in year 12, I said, I want to relax. And I took that a bit too far. I think that was on my own problem and my own like swaying in the path. So I would genuinely be, I guess, memory maximizing, as I say it is. That's what I was doing. But my teachers were very supportive. They gave me so I didn't go to grammar school. I didn't go to private school. I went to non-selective state school. I would say that the UK system genuinely does support you as an individual. It's just that there's not much focus on high achieving. It's more of you're grown and fostered to be just another worker. And I think that's what school failed in. And that's what the great lock-in was a time for me. I'd say it was for just to make sure I could have all the opportunities in front of me. It was more the sense. At that moment in time, I wasn't even sure about LSE. I was kind of thinking I might actually just not go university, not go apprenticeships. I might just do my own thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the great lock-in was just my route to having all these options in front of me.
Yeah. And you mentioned about being burnt out from year 11. Then the other case was that you had a business in the music industry and you had 600,000 streams.
Yeah.
And you later decided to quit it. Was it like now in society we talk about never give up.
Yeah.
When is the right time to give up, which you did, and do you feel like will you ever regret that?
Giving up the music thing, 600K, of course, a lot of people get astonished by it. But I think I was just an early entrance into the market. I didn't rap, I didn't sing, I was good in the producing side. I think the right time for me to leave was then, because that's when I realized that this is not the place for me. I had no passion. I woke up and I was like, oh, I have to do this again. And it never changed. There wasn't a single day in a month's period where I was like, I'm actually enjoying myself. And that's when I realized I need to stop.
Yeah.
And I was always like, I always continued to evolve as an individual going forward. So while I had music, I always had my reselling business. And I love fashion. It's like my bread and butter always. I could go yap to you on about proportions, how different things fit.
Yeah.
I've gone on making my own stuff. And I believe that comparing my life in fashion to my music, it was two worlds. And I was like, it was time to summarize the answers. The time to give up is when you haven't had a good day in a consecutively long time.
But yeah, so now let's zoom in on the environment at LSE. We have finance, we have class, we have social capital. Where kind of did you see yourself to fit in that hierarchy? You know, you mentioned about being in high finance and being at LSE is statistically a common path to go down. Do you think that will be in the next 5 years, your kind of goals, and do you think the culture around LSE helps you to do that?
First thing is where I fit in LSE. biggest imposter syndrome ever. I know the statistics off by my hand. LSE is 70% international. The 30% who are from the UK, all of them basically are grammar or private. So the imposter syndrome is there
Yeah.
heavily. And as far as LSE's general trajectory of high finance, you see everyone going to high finance. I believe that a lot of people are content with that too. So I do believe that LSE has really helped me get into these rooms and places into high finance. So I think in 5 years' time, if I decide to stay in the corporate route, I will be in high finance.
Yeah.
And of course, having my internships, the spring weeks, it's basically written in the stars at this
That's
moment
it.
of time when you're at LSE.
That's it.
Even if you're, I think, as I said, we'll put it back in standardized terms, the least locked in person in LSE still has a very high chance in going
Very.
into high finance
Very.
because the firms cherry pick you.
Yeah. And now you mentioned about having multiple spring weeks and kind of like internships in investment banking and consulting. What was the process like for you when applying, and what would you like be your main pieces of advice?
I won't actually say an advice that I found out myself. It's an advice which I took on, which actually helped me.
Yeah.
There's someone called Wise. Shout out my boy Wise, of course.
Wise.
Wise told me it's about quality over quantity.
Mm.
At LSC, a lot of people say it's just the amount of shots you throw up. In reality, it's about the quality of your shots you throw up.
Yeah.
You want to be someone who is so technical at your applications. If you understand the firm inside out when you're writing an application, I promise you they will see it. The people believe ATS and they use ATS as like a scapegoat saying,
Yeah.
my CV wasn't good. I promise you, if you focus on this firm and you know it inside out, they will see you. And I'm evidence of it because the second I changed my application process, I got 3 spring week offers in the same day. So
What the hell?
so that's a very, like, I remember speaking to my friend. I was in a presentation. I was in a summative presentation, and my phone got buzzed twice, 2 different numbers. I got an email saying, "Hi, this is XX firm. Please call us back as soon as possible." And it was a surreal moment. And I said, that second I changed the whole world. So this comes to the apprenticeships. Of course, I was in the apprenticeship line. I applied maybe 2 or 3. I was just didn't know too much about apprenticeships at all at my time.
Yeah.
But second, you change the quality, your life changes.
That's it. And you've just had a summer at Asia at an investment bank.
Yeah.
In that division. Would you say you're still on the path for a 9 to 5 after that experience, or you're looking at having that startup culture that we talk about a lot?
God, no. Definitely not. I think I'm on towards a startup culture. I'm currently like weighing up my options, might do a gap year, see the AI technical field, see how that goes into it. I'm speaking to a lot of people. I think the group of people I'm around right now, all startup culture, they all actually have their own startups already built in. So it's like, I don't see myself in a 9 to 5 anymore.
You don't?
I see myself doing my own thing. And even if it's not a business, I see myself producing content or producing some sort of tangible asset for someone to have.
That's it. And you mentioned environment.
Yeah.
Like a couple of minutes ago, and you mentioned it now again, like your social circle, everyone has that mindset to be high achieving, that startup culture. How kind of crucially would you weigh your environment plays a massive part to who you are forged as a person and your character?
I think it's probably the biggest thing in a person's life is your path, and your environment in particular is the people around you and environment you're in. I come from Birmingham. I have friends in all lives offline. I have sadly the gang member friends. I have the friends who are very locked in on their own work. They finish 6th form and they went straight into work.
Yeah.
I have friends who finished secondary school, they went straight into work, and I realized that whoever I keep around me has to have that ambition. And if you associate yourself with the wrong crowd, you will end up like the wrong crowd. The saying goes, your top 5 friends is a reflection of you. And I do firmly believe it. And that hasn't changed. I remember in year 12, I changed my friend group. And because I changed my friend group, I realized the value of education, and that really made me want to change myself, lock back in, I'd say. And then coming into LSE, my friends are so ambitious. My GC is never not about a new idea anymore. It is always something new. Content creation is our new craze. So we all bought mics, we all bought ones, we all trying to go into content. Now, two of my friends, AI, heavily in AI, they're ambassadors of the Entrepreneurship, Lovable. Like, these guys are in it to win it. And I think when you see this ambition in front of you, surrounding you, you're bound to just let that rub on you.
So you've been at the industry of a 9 to 5 with the kind of we call the corporate industry. Would you say there's an active change to plug in underrepresented backgrounds from socio-economical challenges like migrating, like not having the best state schools, like not having the best surroundings, not living in deprived areas? Would you say there's an active change to plug in talent from those backgrounds at the firms and industries you've been at, or it's still the cream skimming from the best places?
I still think it's the cream being skimmed from the best places. So sadly, I think every step of the way has been harder when you're in an underrepresented background. It's like, of course, putting in very technical terms. Socio-economic like status is a confounder on where your outcome is. And where you are as a person, natural ability matters very much less. Because when you come from a socio-economic of lower standards, your opportunities are less restricted. You have the same capabilities of Marcus down the road, whose mum and dad are from the UK, settled and have that job. The issue is Marcus has that social network around them. And of course, that's what you guys are doing. You're making a social network for the people who don't have a social network. And that's that gap being bridged. And that's what's going to make a difference in the future. I had no social network. For me, it has to be literally sitting there, putting my hand into the dirt and pulling out the opportunity, like you do, like, of course, root vegetables. Pull it out, and you have to be the one to cultivate it. And of course, that means we tend to burn out a lot more because we had to put a lot more effort in. And then at the end, the outcome is we underperform in the bigger stage. And you need to take some time and really look at it holistically, that is this really going to change if there are no social networks being created for you, like what Investate is doing right now? So no, I think it's the cream's being skimmed from the top. And then the people who are being made are getting these opportunities would have made it either way.
You hear it from the man himself. The cream's being skimmed from the top, and Investate is bridging the gap. Where ambition, where mentality meets ambition. Let's go. And we are aware as well that you study philosophy at LSE. How rigorous, we talk about how hard it is, exams back to back. I had a friend from LSE as well. He mentioned that apprenticeships is like a part-time job, and then the course is like, he's like, any spare time he has, 5 minutes after revision, that's when he's doing his applications. How rigorous is?
Ooh, LSE is very rigorous, but I also think it depends on the individual. If you're very organized, LSE is okay. The most unorganized person will struggle at LSE because LSE gives you so much work. As I said, I have an exam on Monday and I'm here. That's saying that if you're organized, you could do everything. I had an exam yesterday too. So it's like, look, there's always going to be some sort of barrier, some other deadline around you. It's about you as a person, how you can manage that stress and handle it. It is like conceptually, like in your mind, to understand what LSE is rigorous. I think any university is rigorous in that sense. But application season, 5 minutes. No, I think anyway, for people I know, we all prioritize applications over university because you could fail that exam and you could still get a job. You can't miss that application and get that job.
You can't.
Yeah. One's outcome dependent.
That's it. One is outcome dependent indeed. And kind of another question, specifically to your degree, you study like philosophy. Like, can you break us down in your eyes from that field? What is it that you knew about it before and what you know now, and how does that affect the lens and the way you see life?
I grew up around like very religious friends, to say. So I had, when it comes to Islam, Christianity, I had very religious friends. So I would always have very, like, I think, intellectually stimulating conversations about these different ones, and that's where I first really got into religious philosophy. So I read part of the Quran. I read the Bible growing up. I'm Buddhist myself, so that's kind of my main foundation for philosophy was that. And then, shamelessly to say, I watched this show called Vinland Saga, and
Vinland
that had
Saga.
yes, it is based off Stoicism, which led me to read a book called Vagabond, or another manga, and that is based off Buddhist Zen philosophy by a philosopher called Miyamoto Musashi.
Yeah.
And I read this book called the Book of Five Rings. That inspired me to say that I don't need to only pursue what makes the most money. I can pursue what I really like and I could still make success out of it.
Yeah.
And that's why that was kind of my idea into philosophy and also my background of philosophy before. Then coming into philosophy at LSE completely changed it. Philosophy isn't reading a philosophical book, people think changes nothing in your life. If you pick up one philosophy book, it will genuinely change every single process that you think. The way you think alters forever, because now you don't just think linearly. You think consequentially. You think in Kantian ethics. You think in so many different ways of how to approach a situation. You are thinking in a million different ways to find the best possible outcome for yourself. And it changes your life completely. And if you think of examples of people who've done philosophy, and a lot of people think philosophy is what a Mickey Mouse degree. George Soros, one of the biggest investors, did philosophy at LSE. And these type of examples go on forever.
It is one of the crucial kind of like degrees and a skill for life that you come out with, because philosophy, you look at it from, like as you said, it's not linear. And now one of the biggest investing is all about going the opposite way, gaining an edge from strategies. And now you kind of think out a way where the wave is going in this direction. Philosophy is like, what's the consequence if I'm thinking like these people? Now you reverse, what's the counter-cyclical view of that? And you have different outplays and you just get that one spark that thinks, boom, this is what it should be. And now you pair that with because you do economics and philosophy, you pair that with econ, you've got these mathematical models where you can backtest that theory. Bro, that sounds so interesting. Talk to us a bit more about economics and like, how does that play with the philosophy?
Of course, everyone knows the craze on economics. Economics has been around for a long time, and the utilities of economics is huge. I love economics. I think that is another of my bread and butters. If you ask my friends, I speak in economics terms always because I find so much fun and utility in it.
Yeah.
As far as like how economics helps you as a person, it's really theoretical and has no use in real life. It's just, you could basically critically analyze a lot of things and the impacts on people. That's what economics is good at. You see the impact directly. And as you said, trading has so much to do with economics. How FX is how a business is exposed to FX depicts on how they respond to economic shocks. These things, it helps you conceptualize different outcomes. And like when you're making models, especially in the DCF model, you stress test your companies in different like growth rates and stuff like that. You would not be able to do these models without a basic understanding of economics. Not even basic. You need a fundamentally strong understanding of economics. It is so important. And our grades are so important that every single person should do economics as a subject at GCSE level to understand small basis, because it helps you financially. You learn about mortgages and how interest rates affect your mortgages. It is the subject I think people should have learned at a secondary level.
That's it. A similar pillar that I encountered was one of the quant researchers at my firm. He said there's two ways of being a quant. One is to be a fool, and the second is to not be a fool. And he said that the people sometimes come into quant without a strong enough mathematical foundation that when they start with a foundational formulae, they can't really come back to their work if they've busted a mistake at the code and the database that they're working on. So the data structure is all over the place and you can't conceptualize what is it that you're trying to do. If that backtest fails or is deployed with the wrong market condition, now it's like, what triggered this? You can't find it out. And having that strong layer of economics, as you talked, is actually like one of the major things that us Gen Z, we kind of undermine. We're thinking, oh, we can just like get a lucky internship there. Like, come on, really do your testing, do your practice, hone your skills. There are a lot of psychometric tests out there. And even your course, you might do econ, but you might go an extra model and look at something in the stats model, probability, and all of that stuff. So how important is supercurriculars and extracurriculars to you while having your main degree?
I think the job market says it all at this moment in time. It's cooked. If you don't have supercurriculars, extracurriculars, you will not survive. You need to be able to do you don't want to be a master of one anymore. You need to be a jack of all trades.
That's it.
And I think it is so important to just do things. So many people are surprised at how many of my businesses have failed. So many people are surprised that how I live my life quite risk-free. I do not think about money. I don't think about anything because I know that me spending this money on this thing is another open of entry for me, and this lets me not extracurricular activity.
Wow.
So, for example, mentioned content creation. I did this. Many would say stupid thing. I didn't create a video at all ever in my life speaking camera. I went and bought a very expensive mic to make. Now there's a sunk cost fallacy. Now this makes me, I'll start a new extracurricular to do this. It is so important to keep doing things. And in these interviews, these interviewers love extracurriculars. Every single, so for example, I was being interviewed for a firm called DC Advisory. The interviewer did not ask me about my university, about my experience, or my university extracurriculars. He asked me about my music producing business.
Crazy.
When I was in getting interviewed again for City, they did not ask me much about my university. They asked me about what I did in ESG, how I showed myself to be an environmentally friendly guy. And I was so happy that in sixth form I did an ESG talk in my council, which by I have no kind of background in environmental stuff. I did geography, but that's about it. But I just took that opportunity because I believe in this ideology where the universe does not give you a perfect time. You just take the time and you just get on with it. And that's the same thing you should do with extracurriculars. Just take it, even if it's in front of you. Doesn't matter if you're an exam in 2 weeks' time, you find a way to fit it in and do it because it's so important.
So important. So important, so important. And now, your A-level choices, what led you to go down that route? Is it something by impulse or strategy?
My A-level, I come from a very traditional background in I think many Asian individuals like me come from this background. My mom is a doctor. My grandfather has a PhD in chemistry. So STEM has always been our bread and butter. So it was kind of a thing where I knew I was going to have some STEM subjects. I started my A-levels with choosing maths, econ, and media studies. And then I dropped media studies because I didn't enjoy it. Then I picked up bio. So I did maths, econ, bio. Then I dropped bio. And I picked up computer science. I dropped computer science. Then I picked up chemistry. I loved chemistry, but then I dropped maths. So I did maths, bio. Maths, econ, bio. I was cool with that because I was going to go into medicine. That was kind of the plan. my mom's kind of successor going med. And then I realized I hate biology with a passion. Absolutely hate it. So I said, no, I'm gonna go back into maths because I always had a gift with maths. And at the end, I ended up with maths, econ, and chem. And strategically, yes, I could have gone to 6 universities and still done medicine without doing bio. So I still had medicine open.
Yeah.
But now I'm doing subjects I'm good at and I enjoy. And man, I wouldn't ever go back and change anything.
And how important it is to have that support system where you have so much fluidity between switching and saying, I want to change my mind. Like oftentimes in sixth form, we're just shoved down these 3 subjects. You do these, you got these grades in GCSE. Now don't pick these subjects, you didn't get these grades for that. How detrimental is that to like even the mental state of young children trying to have good ambitions if we're always limited and capped?
I believe that no one should be capped and no one should be limited. You might be so constrained at one moment on your life. So in GCSEs, you might have underperformed and got maybe a 5, 6, 4, 3 in your GCSEs. That's because you were still a child and you haven't really nurtured into who you are to see how you study best. I think putting that limitation is very detrimental as we see so much young talent, not realizing that young talent till way too late. The opportunities are passed. I was so glad that although I underperformed in some of my GCSEs, my teachers still allowed me to choose these subjects and still experience them. When I mean underperform, like I severely underperformed in English. I got a 4 in my English. When I tell the people at LSE that I got a 4 in my English, they're all so surprised that I'm at LSE. And of course, that's normal. I'm around everyone who have got all 9s throughout their life. But the fact that my teachers were so supportive and was like, this is not my final outcome. I haven't peaked yet. And they supported me straight through into where I am. That fluidity helped me find me as a person. And at the end, my person was anyway the subjects I was strongest at. Maths, chem, econ. By the way, econ was genuinely a scary subject for me to choose. I can't write to save my life. Of course, I got the language barrier, English being my second language. It was a struggle. I could never conceptualize writing a good paragraph. So my teachers trusted me that I will be able to do econ. And I ended up with the A. And now I'm at the London School of Economics.
That is the crazy sequences of events of trust, having faith, having grit to back that you can do what you set your mind to. And your kind of career is all about that, overcoming those social challenges, educational challenges, and entrepreneurial challenges as well. So thank you so much for being with us today at the podcast. It's been your host, Lennon Muma, and thank you.
Thank you for having me so much. I can't wait to see what else Investate can do in the future.
Let's go. Thank you. If you would like to add Methul on social media, here will be his LinkedIn, here will be his Instagram, model fashionista, and here will be his TikTok. Let's go.